work alongside all of you, right? So my name is Hannah H. Tarindwa, and most of the time when people want an introduction of me, I say, Google me. And I'm actually quite proud to say that you can actually AI Google me. So you can ask Gemini, who is Hannah H. Tarindwa? And you'll be able to hear a bit of my career and who I am. But most of all, I am a creative writer, and I'm a champion of creative writers. My voice, I wanted to be the loudest voice for creative writing, and not only the writing, but the people in the space. And that's really what my PhD is about. It's not about the creative writers. And I always think that department panelists, when they give me supervisors, they just think, oh, this one, I don't know why she's doing communication, she's doing literary. And when I say development, I'm talking about the people, the writers themselves. So if I come to you and I tell you, unfortunately, I thought this session would be in the morning. So I had my book, 52 Letters to My Sweetheart, but I've swapped it already with someone else. And my question to everyone is, imagine if I told you that I used AI to write 52 Letters to My Sweetheart. It's going to be, you're going to look at me with that look, the look that you guys are giving me. No, I didn't. It took me 4 years to write that book. Actually, as I speak to you now, I wonder how long AI would take. And I'm sure AI would take lesser time because it doesn't have the emotions that I had. And it doesn't have the people who knew me, my beta readers, who said to me, this doesn't sound like you on the first draft. And then someone else who said, yeah, it's too preachy on the third draft. And then on the fourth draft, I was crying and ready to let it go. And on the sixth draft, a good friend of mine asked me the question, Hannah, did you cry when you wrote this? So let me tell you now that in honesty, in earnest, most writers in general do not want to be associated as AI writers. Okay. But I personally have seen the power of creative writing and AI and what it means. However, but when we talk of generative AI, right, we're talking of AI that gives information, right? You ask a question, it answers you. It generates. It doesn't create, it doesn't imagine, it generates. And the problem with this is that people, like, for myself, I've been told, AI is fast. And that's the message we get for creatives or anyone who's using AI, that it's fast. However, in the space of creativity and knowledge creation or the curating of information, that framing is wrong. And I was happy to hear yesterday, I think the VC spoke about it, that AI does not just give answers where it picks. It actually gives answers within a context. And what is that context? Today, we heard from earlier speakers in the morning, it's Western, or it's Chinese, or it's what is available on the internet. So the context by which AI operates is not necessarily specific, right? So the context is not specific, but it is what is available. What it knows is what is there, right? But what is in my heart, what is in my thoughts, what is in my personal experiences, AI cannot take that. So now let's say we say, okay, creative people use AI, it's fast, it's good for you. We try to forget that AI sits outside the practices it touches. So it gives you what it says, but it sits outside the practice. I like Claude AI. It's my new favorite agent. And yet AI will say something, it will tell me, this is because I've got a business idea that I have, and I say, how do I do this? And how do I approach? And it says, I hope you write a letter and you send it. It's outside the practice. I still have to send the letter. I still have to establish the relationship with the people that I want to go into business with, right? And that is the part that people forget when they talk about generative AI. Yes, I can write an assignment, but can I articulate it after? That framing is not included. But for the sake of this paper, I want to know who is affected by this. I know we are very few in the room, but how many of you read fiction? Only two? Okay. I'm not, you don't read fiction, sir?
I did.
Oh, you did, but you've read fiction. Imagine. Okay, but everyone is affected, right? So for me, in my case, everyone is affected, particularly in the African storytelling and story listening, because people always think that the storytelling is the important part, but you have to listen. Recently, I don't know if any of you are conversant with Netflix and so Sue Nyati, who is a Zimbabwean and a friend of a friend, so I'm literally one friend away from Sue Nyati, was in an interview with this friend of mine who's also a blogger, and she was asked about AI, and she said the one thing that AI does not have is soul, but the threat of the AI writer is not in the writer. Because like I said, I don't want people to look at me like, you used AI to write your book, but the reader. So if readers begin to prefer AI more than the writers, we are in trouble. So African story listening is also affected. But I want to recall what, I will call him Tate, because that's how we address elderly men. Tate Ngugi wa Thiong'o in 1986 in Makerere said, the African writer is often both artist and custodian of communal memory. So that is going to continue even in this era of AI, right? We are going to be the custodians of communal memory. Is that something that AI has captured? I've heard so many calls in those preliminary talks, and people are saying, oh, we need to put our information on AI, our database, let's grow the databases. And I'm like, how? You want me to go and record my gogo, who is my shosho, my grandmother, and put her voice on the AI? Like, how? And that is the question that is the question, right, in the room.
Yeah.
So who is accountable when machine assist in telling a community story? So of course, I'm in communication and development. So now, in order to get funding, I'm going to use Jane Doe. Mr. Smith and Jane Doe are going to come and they're going to say, oh, the poor people in Africa, in Kibera, this is their story. And then they just, they take a few pictures and put in ChatGPT and say, write a creative story about these people. Who is accountable? Right. And every time I'm in a room of academics and they say, we need, I was boiling. We need people to put in Kikuyu. Or I said, what do you mean we need? You are the academic in the room. My first year of being a lecturer in Namibia, I almost, thank goodness, I don't know if there's cancel culture in academics, but I could have been canceled. We were doing, creating a curriculum. And the doctor of media in Namibia, it's a small country, was in the room. So he says to me, Miss Tarindwa, your books here, your points of references do not have any Namibian or South African books, local books. And then I said, sir, I'm so happy to see you because you are here. And you are the foremost doctor. So if you could leave your book for us as a point of reference. That did not make me very happy. I heard it from my boss. He was like, what? You are new and you're already ruffling feathers in Namibia. He said, yeah, the doctor said you demanded books from him. Apparently, he was still a PhD student himself and he had not published. And guess what? Even after he became PhD, I went after him and I said, sir, your book unpublished. So we cannot sit in rooms and expect other people. People are expecting us to do the writing. So if you're in here, you've got a master's or you've got a PhD and you've not written, this is your call to action. But for this paper, I asked three major questions. Are you going to wait for me at 8 minutes? Did she tell you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So who is accountable when a machine assists in storytelling? I've already asked that question. But there's also the issue of,
sorry.
Yes.
I have been prepared for finishing our one-to-one presentation.
Yes.
I'm a rapporteur for
All right. Hannah H. Tarindwa. Thank you. All right. So the second one is synthetic development. When we say synthetic, we are saying plastic. That's the first thing you think of when you think synthetic. A new technology, or it's serving the old diffusionist logic. I just want to know, anyone in development here? No one in development, in media? When was the last, you are a lecturer here? How many documentaries have you made about Africa or your own community? Quite a lot? You don't have the numbers? Just a documentary about your own community. No, not listened. I want to just know the number of documentaries you have made.
I have.
Yes, you. But quite a number. You've made a lot? Yourself?
No, not myself.
Ah, if you don't do something yourself, is it synthetic? If I come and I start telling you the Chinese story, like in the days of Empire Qing, in the Qing dynasty, and then a Chinese person comes, maybe I would have studied it, right? But if a Chinese person comes and tells you a story, even if it's fake, who are you to believe? And yet, how many of our stories do we believe from outsiders? BBC, that you were very quick to mention, is the #1 propagator of documentaries of African stories. And people believe them. How synthetic is that? How authentic is that?
But they are done by Africa.
Yes, but they are sponsored. There are so many other issues to look at. There is an angle and a frame. Sitsida Ngarempa, who is one of Zimbabwe's first and prolific, first female English writer in Shona, English writer in the country. She wanted to produce a movie called Everyone's Child. And she was told she had to include the issues of HIV and AIDS. But her story was about orphans. But now these orphans had to be HIV/AIDS orphans. Fine, we're not saying HIV is not in our culture or it's not happening, but is that her story? That was not synthetic. So now we are blaming AI, but how authentic has been our story since 17, whatever. I'm reading a book right now about how the Germans came, the Dutch came into Southern Africa, and they've been telling our story. So AI now, we can complain about it, but really, over the past 300 years, who's been telling the African story? The last question is, would locally data integration and AI literacy really correct the epistemic injustice of African indigenous knowledge? Today, I was having a discussion with my professor. I was hoping he would be here because he has a presentation, Obonyo. And we asked these two people who were sitting on our table if they know. We asked the girl, do you know how to make thick milk? She said, yes, my grandmother taught me. It's like, okay, that's knowledge, it's there. It means in this generation it's there because she's under 35. And then I asked the boy who was sitting next to her, do you know how to kill a cow? The look on his face. And then I said, data integration. If this young man doesn't know something that we in our culture would say is a boy's thing, and he said he's over 25 but under 30, that's knowledge. I was taught how to kill a cow because in my culture, I'm what they call a msukuru. My role in my indigenous space is to be able to kill a cow. Even if it doesn't matter, it's not a gender role. I am a msukuru, it's my role. If there's no one who can do it, they will say, Hannah. People have to eat at a funeral. And we're not all going to eat chicken. So the boy, sweet, God bless his soul, says, I can kill a chicken. And I was like, oh, we are still complaining about AI. We are here talking about AI, but do we have the knowledge about the things that we are wanting? And who are we expecting to input that knowledge? Now, I've got two guiding theories, which unfortunately will break my heart to say they don't come from Africa. And worse still, they don't even come from Black people. The first one is the Afrofuturism, which talks about looking at Africa from an looking at the future from an African lens. How can we include that? And I think this is what people want. But my question is, are the Africans ready to do the work? Because the white people have done the work. They've done the whitewashing. But here we are in the post-colonial computing. We have been colonized physically, economically, politically, and in this case, we are not even colonized when we talk about computing. We are going there ourselves. I don't even understand. I think Bob Marley would really cry and realize that people sing along with his song, but they really don't know what they mean. When he said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our mind. But that's all for you to think about, because my time is running out. And I just want to say, I think my paper is important for policy, for practice and research. Policy is to encourage and allow development of and sovereignty of AI applicable to the African context. I say this with a pinch of salt because I'm looking for people who are developing AI in Africa. China did so with DeepSeek in response to ChatGPT. A young man 2 weeks ago was on NTV, all Nairobi and Kenyan TV networks saying that he developed an AI bot which can translate. But if you go to his website right now, it says there's an error. I said, oh, people think they can go on TV. No one checks in. No one looks at, oh, Hannah said she has done this. No one checks to say if it's true. So what has he done? He has been on NTV, but he's not developed that AI. There's nothing. For practice in development, particularly as development practitioners, I consider myself one, educators, news reporters, software developers, we need to make a concerted effort to come together so that we can actually understand the workings, the scope, and the limitations of generative AI. Oh, is it 17? Oh, he took it.
Yeah.
Oh, he waved at me. Sorry. Okay, but I was disturbed. Let me conclude. Okay. All right. So it's also important. All right. It's also important for research. It's also important for research because I believe research is the bedrock for practice and policy. And there is a need to interrogate the value of AI right now in our society. We are having an AI. I appreciate that we have an AI conference, but I think we need other conferences about other issues before we get here so that we can arrive here. I know Professor Obonyo would disagree. Anyhow, to conclude, let me just say my concluding remarks that Africans, we should take our rightful place in civilization. It has been spearheaded by storytellers already. We didn't invent AI, it's not our thing, but we should be part of the conversations and the definitions of it and evolutions of it. And yes, let's bring our own voices and experience to it and work towards achieving our own aspirations, not aspirations that we've been told to have. Thank you very much.
Hannah,